The Appalachians are beautiful by day, rolling ridges, endless forests, and valleys filled with mist. But at night, the mountains whisper. Locals say the wind carries voices that don't belong to the living. Some call them lost souls. Others say it's the mountain itself, breathing. Among these ridges, one legend stands apart. A cave hidden deep in the woods, barely marked on any map. Hunters speak of it in hushed tones. Hikers avoid its trails, and old families warn their children never to wander near its mouth. They call it the place where echoes are alive. Those who've stood at its entrance describe a strange sound. Not the usual hollow echo of stone, but whispers that answer back. The cave seems to speak, sometimes in a voice like your own, sometimes in voices long gone. Locals tell stories of men who entered and never returned, of lantern lights seen flickering deep inside, long after the search parties had given up, and of a woman's cry, distant, aching, that drifts from the cave on foggy nights. The forest around it feels wrong. The birds go silent. The trees lean as if bending away. Even the air grows colder, like something is drawing the warmth out of the world. People say the mountain doesn't want you to leave once you step inside, that the deeper you go, the stronger the pull becomes, and that the echoes, they follow you home. Tonight, we follow the legend, to the place locals fear most, to the Appalachian Haunted Cave, where the dark is never empty. But once you step into the silence, will the cave let you leave? The cave's entrance yawns like a black wound in the hillside. Its jagged mouth is framed by roots, dripping water, and moss so thick it glistens in the dim light. To the untrained eye, it looks like nothing more than a natural hollow. But to those who know the stories, stepping closer feels like stepping toward a grave. The explorer, some say it was a hunter, others say just a curious traveler, lit a lantern and crossed the threshold. The flame flickered wildly, as if straining against some invisible current. And then silence. The kind of silence, so heavy it presses against your ears. No wind, no forest, just the sound of boots against stone. The deeper he walked, the colder it became. Breath misted in the air. Drops of water echoed from unseen places, though each one sounded different, like a voice mimicking the sound. He paused, listening. At first, he thought it was just the cave, but then he heard it clearly, his own footsteps trailing just behind him. Only, he wasn't moving. The lantern dimmed. The shadows stretched longer than they should, curling like fingers across the walls. He whispered to steady himself, and the cave whispered back, not as an echo, but as an answer, his own words, repeated in a voice that wasn't his. Heart pounding, he pressed forward, drawn by something he couldn't explain. The air grew tighter, like the cave itself was narrowing around him. He had the sense of being watched, but not by eyes, by the stone itself. Every step felt heavier. Every sound lingered too long, as though the walls were savoring them. Then, far ahead, a flicker of light. A lantern glow, too steady to be his own reflection. Someone else was deeper inside. He raised his lamp, called out. No answer, just the distant sound of breathing. Deep, slow, ragged. Was it another explorer? A trick of the cave? Or had he stumbled into the company of something far older? He took one cautious step forward and the breathing stopped. The silence after the breathing was worse than the sound itself. His lantern trembled in his hand, casting shaky light along the stone walls. That's when he noticed the markings. At first, they looked like scratches, claw marks etched into the rock. But as he leaned closer, he saw patterns, symbols, strange carvings spiraling in uneven lines, older than any settler could have left behind. Some resembled faces. Others looked like hands, pressed deep into the stone as though someone, or something, had been swallowed by it. The explorer moved deeper, drawn toward the faint glow he glimpsed. But the cave wasn't silent anymore. Voices stirred in the dark. Not loud, not clear, just whispers at the edge of hearing. A child's laugh, a man muttering in prayer, a woman crying softly, her sobs echoing off the wet walls. He spun, lantern raised, but the cave stretched in every direction, twisting like a labyrinth. The light ahead pulsed once and then disappeared. His footsteps echoed, but the sound didn't match his movements. Sometimes it lagged behind. Other times, it ran ahead, as if something unseen was leading him deeper. Then he found it, the chamber, a wide hollow where the ceiling vanished into blackness. Bones littered the ground, broken and scattered. Some animal, some not. Beside them lay rusted lantern frames, boots rotted through, and scraps of fabric that looked like they belonged to search parties long forgotten. The whispers grew louder, swirling around him. His own name rose among them, spoken in dozens of voices. Some sounded like friends, others like strangers, one like his mother. Panic gripped him. He pressed his hand against the stone for balance. But the rock wasn't solid. It was warm, beating faintly like a heart. And when he pulled his hand away, the outline of his palm glowed red against the surface, as though the cave had taken something from him. Then, clear as day, came a single word from the darkness. "Stay." The lantern sputtered. The chamber grew colder, and for the first time, he realized the cave wasn't just holding echoes. It was keeping the dead. The word "stay" still hung in the air when the lantern finally died. Darkness swallowed him whole. He fumbled with the matches, but each spark was snuffed out by an invisible breath. The cave wanted him blind. Then came the sound. Not whispers, not echoes. Footsteps, heavy, deliberate, circling the chamber. They crunched against the bones scattered across the floor, but when he turned, there was nothing. Only the sound of something moving closer, then pulling back, like a predator toying with its prey. He stumbled forward, one hand pressed against the wall, the other clawing in the dark. His fingers brushed cold iron, a rusted gate wedged into the stone. Beyond it, the faintest glow pulsed. Desperate, he pushed through and entered what locals would later call the final chamber. The glow came from the walls themselves. Shapes flickered within the stone, like shadows trapped beneath glass. Faces twisted in agony, mouths open in silent screams. They shifted as he passed, eyes following him, their voices bleeding through the rock in broken fragments. "Help me. Don't go." Stay. At the center of the chamber, a pool of water reflected nothing. Not his lantern, not his body, only black emptiness deeper than sight. Yet ripples spread across its surface, as though something below was breathing. A hand broke the water, pale, thin, fingers stretching too long, dripping in darkness. Then another, then a face rising slowly. Not alive, not dead. Its skin was the same gray as the stone, its eyes empty sockets, its mouth opening wider than any human jaw. He stumbled back, but the chamber shifted. The gate he'd passed through was gone, sealed by living stone. The cave had closed around him. The voices screamed at once. 1,000 echoes, all clawing to be heard, all begging him to join them. He pressed his palms to his ears, but the sound wasn't in the air anymore. It was inside his skull. The figure crawled free from the pool, dragging itself across the floor with snapping bones. Its head tilted, jaw unhinging as it spoke in his own voice. "You're already one of us." He turned to run, but there was nowhere left to go. What happened next, no one knows for sure. The explorer never returned. Days later, when search parties braved the cave, they found only his lantern, still burning, its flame impossibly steady despite the damp air. His tracks led deep inside, but stopped at the chamber's edge as if he'd been erased. Some say his voice joined the echoes, that on cold nights, when the fog drifts low across the Appalachian ridges, you can hear him calling from within the mountain. A desperate whisper, forever circling in the dark. Others claim the cave is still growing, that every soul it takes, every scream it swallows, makes the stone walls breathe deeper. Alive, waiting for the next set of footsteps. Hikers who stumble too close often swear they hear someone following them. A second set of boots crunching just behind their own. Some have returned home only to wake at night, hearing the cave whispering from their walls, their closets, their dreams. The locals still warn, never follow the echoes. Once the cave knows your voice, it never forgets. And maybe, just maybe, the next time you're walking through the Appalachians, you'll hear it. A whisper, your own voice, answering back. Because in the haunted cave, the darkness never lets go. If you felt the pull of this story, don't wander off just yet. The mountains hold more secrets, more echoes, and more shadows waiting to be told. Hit like to keep the lantern burning. Subscribe if you dare to hear the next legend, and watch another tale if you think you can handle what's waiting in the dark.